Savage Barbell podcast is back. I'm here with a good friend Paul. With a bunch of Southern nutrition down here in Alabama, all over the place.
Florida, Georgia, and Alabama.
Yeah, so introduce yourself. Talk a little bit about just kind of who you are, what Southern Nutrition. And then we'll go deep into how you started in the medical field. You started your first one when it was 5-star, grew from there, and then we can keep going and going and going.
Yeah. All right. So right now we're at 8 stores. So between Florida, Georgia, Alabama, we've got 2 here in Mobile, 1 in Auburn, 1 in Dothan, 2 in Columbus, Georgia, 1 in Winter Garden, Florida, and 1 in Claremont, Florida. Both the Florida stores are outside Orlando. And then we just signed a lease for a city named Pooler, which is outside of Savannah.
Yeah, up a little bit.
Up a little bit.
There you go.
All right.
Perfect. So you have all those stores. What talk about what got you into the supplement industry, opening up a small business? Because I mean, before you were, selling medical supplies.
Yep.
You were doing something in reps in the medical field.
Yeah,
so
that's
kind of
right.
talk about because I remember when you first started, you were still doing that.
Yeah,
So
that's right. So went to college in Chico State, Northern California. I'm a California guy, born again Southerner, just to let everybody know. Came out here in 2015. At the time, I was doing medical device sales for a company which was Covidian at the time, then became Medtronic. So it's the biggest medical device company in the world. Sold a lot of general surgery, laparoscopic surgery, bariatric surgery type devices, disposable devices. So I was calling on hospitals, worked mostly with bariatric and thoracic surgeons though. After about 10 years of doing that in the San Francisco Bay Area, man, I was just like, oh, what am I doing? My sciatica was activating. I was sitting in the car for 2.5 hours a day just to go like 20 or 30 miles.
Feel your pain?
Yeah. So, at that point, I gave one of my buddies from college a call. His name's Charlie Hartwig. Shout out 5-star guys. But I was like, hey, Chuck, man, I'm tired of working for the man. What do I got to do? You seem like you're doing well. You're out in Texas killing it with I think it was NutriShop at the time, then became Total Nutrition. I said, hey, I want to, work for myself. I'm tired of being in the grind. What do I got to do? And he's like, hey, man, I'll show you the ropes. I got a guy who can help you kind of get started. As a matter of fact, there's this market called Mobile, Alabama. And, the market's kind of available. So if you want to go out there, and I was like, Mobile, like the gas station? Like, what are we talking about? So obviously it's Mobile. But came here that summer, checked it out, 2015. Yeah, it was summer 2015 with my business partner at the time, and we're like, okay, this is like 20 years backwards from, what we're used to out in California and, Silicon Valley and everything. And so we're like, I kind of dig it, though. It's a slower pace. What do we got to do? So ended up signing 2 leases right away, just kind of jumped head first into this thing. And at the time, the Total Nutrition were going through a revamp, and they had changed the name to 5-Star Nutrition. So I said, hey, guys, what do I call this thing? Am I going to call it Paul's Nutrition? I don't know what I'm doing here. Like, I need something kind of marketable, something kind of snazzy. Can I bite off your name? Like, all right, for the time being, you can use the 5-Star name. Yeah. And so we opened with the 2 stores here in Mobile. So one here in the Costco Shopping Center and the other one in West Mobile, but they were both 5-Star Nutritions at the time. And come around 2018, I kind of figured I wanted to do something for myself, wanted to change the name just so I could grow. 5-Star, I don't want to say it was governed, but there was 3 main guys, and they were, had their own LLC and everything. And I said, well, if I'm going to grow and I'm truly going to be an entrepreneur,
you want to do your own thing,
yeah,
right?
I got to create my own brand, right? So I went so far as to do a trademark, and then I talked to some of my other guys who were close with me at the time. They thought it was a good idea, so we came up with a logo and everything. And at that time, while I still had the 2 stores here in Mobile, I was still doing the medical device sales, and it was too much. I was starting a family at the time too. The 2 stores here, commuting all over the state of Alabama, and I was like,
is that when your son moved back here too? Because I remember he moved back when we started high school.
Yeah,
so I know that was probably a big deal too, like spend time with him and not working.
No, and that's a great point. And so he came out here in 2016 from California, and so single dad. I was moving in with my girlfriend at the time, and trying to do medical device sales and 2 stores. And I was like, man, I moved out here for a purpose. It was to truly be an entrepreneur. What am I going to do to make this happen? Forget it. I'm going to separate myself from medical device and just go all in retail nutrition stores. So 2018, the first technical Southern Nutrition was Southern Nutrition Auburn. So moved a couple guys up there at the time, gave that store a whirl, and just kind of, I don't want to say steamrolled from there, but just kept looking at markets and promoting guys to new ownership positions, and here we are.
Well, Well, one thing I was going to say, I think you're talking about your guys. Every time you come into a store, it's always the same guys, or they always come back, or like you said, they move up into management.
Right.
But you have some guys who have partnered with you for certain stores too, right? So like, I think you really treat your workers well, because I mean they're always coming back. They might go somewhere else for a little while, but they know they're always welcome home. And like, there's always opportunity to grow throughout the business.
No, yeah, absolutely. And you know, everyone, when you come into this setting, most of the guys kind of have. You know, they live the lifestyle, or they want to be a part of a cool team environment, or, you know, they're already supplement takers. Some are bros, some are just all about nutrition. But as they continue to work for me, you know, whether they aspire to be a small business owner, or whether they aspire to do something different, whether it's be a real estate agent, an accountant, go be a firefighter or a cop. I mean, half my employees are probably serving for the city of Mobile in some form or another. But I always give them that opportunity, and I don't try and hold on to them if they don't want to stay here. So my big thing is, I'm going to develop you to the best that I can, and we'll work with kind of what you want for your own family, life, future goals. And if that means staying with me, great. Let's look at a couple opportunities. Let's go look at some markets. Let's look at manager position, potentially an ownership position. Otherwise, man, I'll give you the best reference that I can, and hopefully you take everything you learned through this process and you can apply it to whatever future job you want to do.
For sure. Yeah, just curious. So with all the other stores, you're an owner of all of them, and then you have, you know, guys that have stepped up and become partners to some level, but I mean, none are like, you haven't franchised out to where they're the owner of that store and just under your brand name? Right.
And so I have 4 stores that are just 100% mine, and then there are 4 that I have business partners on. Nice. And so kind of my philosophy right now is, you know, I don't want to say it as an incentive for other people to just open stores under me, but we don't do the franchise thing. We try and keep it in-house. We like the family feel. We like giving everyone who's earned the opportunity to provide for the family, or, you know, be a small business owner, so to speak. But the way I look at it is, hey, if you enjoy what you're doing, you want to keep taking that next step, and you're kind of a risk taker. You know, you have to have some sort of risk tolerance to do this, and you're willing to move. That's a big thing, right? Yeah. Whether you're start here in Mobile or you start in Columbus, Georgia, you know, we already got stores there. So if you do want to take it to the next level, I mean, I moved all the way from California, not knowing anybody, to start here. But that is the thing that we're very open with our employees. Say, hey, you know, this is the career path. Yeah, you're starting at the bottom. You might be, you know, doing demo tables at gyms right now. Then you'll work up to an associate role, talking to customers, selling to customers, and then potentially assistant manager, and then run your own store. And if you like it, realize, like, retail doesn't sleep. Like, this isn't for everybody. No. So even if you like being in the store and, you know, you're good at selling, you're like, oh man, I get a great commission check or whatever, I like talking to people every day. Well, if you take that next step and you want to be a business owner, like, you're not only financially liable, but like, there's plumbing that could go wrong, HR, employee stuff that could go wrong, product issues, inventory supplies. I mean, there's a whole ton of stuff that's behind the scenes that not everyone really understands. They just kind of understand the, like, oh, wow, this is cool. You get to hang out and talk shop with everybody all day. Again, that's kind of what everyone sees on the outside. There's a whole back end.
Yeah, the higher you go, the less time you're actually interacting with customers, the more you're dealing with the backroom stuff and staffing and all that stuff. And people don't quite realize what it takes.
No, absolutely. And, you know, myself, I probably spend 10 to 20 hours maybe in the store a week, if that, but most of it's supporting all my guys, right? Whether it's putting out fires, or I got to go to a different market to train our new guys, or just keeping up vendor relations, product development.
Something happens where something hits the fan, you have to drive to Auburn and run the store. Kids, everyone's sick, and like.
Oh yeah.
Especially the last 2 years, I'm sure there was plenty.
There's been a lot of fire drills. Yeah.
I thought I was going to be home today and off. Nope, I'm on the road.
Nope. Sorry. So, you know, as a single dad, that's been kind of tough too. But just always setting expectations and communicating with the guys that want to be future business owners. Like, hey, it may seem cool, I get to kind of pop in from time to time, but just know, like, I work 7 days a week. Retail is 7 days a week, guys. So if you're not willing to do that, or at least have it in the back of your brain, because it will affect your family, right? If you want to be married, be a parent, like, your spouse is going to have to deal with that too. So it's not for everybody, but it is rewarding. You know, I don't have to answer to anybody else. It's just me.
Yeah, but that's also awesome too. Like, you know, having, you know, I did restaurant sides for a long time before I got into the beer sales stuff. And that was one man, the VP that I still to this day consider my mentor. That's what he always said, was like, don't look at the sign for what it says. That's somebody else's. If that sign said Bacon's, would you be willing to get up, an hour earlier? Would you stay an hour later? Would you answer emails till 2 in the morning or whatever? Whatever it takes, you do it, right? I'm like, well, yeah. He goes, on those long days, look at it that way. Right. And it always helped. It always helped. Like, and that, I just think it's awesome that you're trying to grow from within, and when you see those guys or ladies that have that, you're seeing that they're getting it, like, hey, you interested in doing more?
Yeah, exactly. And, and you brought up a good point. One of the things that I always talk about is treat this as your own.
Yeah.
So that's a big characteristic, or I'll call it advice, that I give to everybody. And, some people do it, some people don't, and I kind of go into observation mode a little bit when I first hire someone. I don't want to give them kind of all the keys to the vault yet, but as they become more and more serious, but that's one of the things I look for is like, do you treat the store as your own? Do you treat the products, and do you treat the customers, more importantly, as your own? Do you treat your fellow employees as part of your family and with respect and everything like that, and put other people's interests first above yourself? Because it really is, man. When it comes to retail, there's always something happening.
And you can walk in places and feel a vibe, because if you've got some employee or manager in a store that's just a dick to work for or work with or whatever.
Right.
Like, you walk in there as a customer, you can tell. Yeah. And then you walk into other places. I mean, Publix is a great example for me. I think, everybody that's going to hear this has probably got a Publix somewhere near them. You walk in those stores, people talk to you. They look at you in the eye. Like, it's just borderline, like, overwhelming, where they're like, do you need anything? Can I help you? Can I carry this out to your car? I got a loaf of bread. No. please stay and help the 70-year-old lady in the line behind me. Yeah. Do not help me carry anything.
But it was a good gesture. I'll remember it.
Yeah, thank you. I know what I know you're trying to help, but I'm good. But that their prices are a little bit higher generally than some other places. But I'll go there more often because I feel good when I walk in there. Versus you go into, I love shopping mom and pop places, but another chain, just you don't feel as good for going in and spending your money. Like, man, there's 10 other options where I can spend my money.
I don't feel good going to Walmart and spending my money anymore.
Make me feel good for coming in here. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No,
sometimes saving isn't worth it.
Yeah. No, and I think that's one thing, too, that I want you to talk about is how you treat your customers compared to some other places, not just in town, but like some of the bigger chains when it comes to the supplement industry or health and wellness industry. Because, literally there's people in here right now and your workers are talking to them, hey, what can we find? Let's get in the computer. Let's see if you've been here before. Right. And it's not like yes, you want them to buy stuff and you want them to buy like your brand of stuff as well, but like if they don't want to buy Gauntlet, you're like, hey, that's fine. Like, try this. This is just as good. This might be a little bit better. Like, you're not afraid to, like, sell other people's brands to make your customers happy because they're going to come back. They're going to tell people. And at the same time, if they don't find something, hey, we have half this bottle's already used. Just take this, try it out, and come back. If you like it again, we'll get you hooked up.
Yeah. Yeah. And, that's one of the things that we kind of pride ourselves on. And I don't know if you'd call it a consultative sales process, but I really encourage my guys. First of all, I hire a lot on character, right? But are you a good listener, right? You got soccer mom Sally coming in here. She didn't want the strongest pre-workout coming in. She may not want to get big. She's not doing deadlifts or whatever. So you kind of got to go, if I want to call it more of a chameleon-like approach to every customer that comes in, but you really got to listen. And I think part of that starts in the hiring process and with the character of the people that I surround myself, guys and girls. Like, hey, if you want to be part of this team, like, be a good listener first. I can teach you what's on the back of all these panels. It's not about hiring, Jimmy Swole, who's like, oh, man, I take such and such, or I know, the back of all these panels. It's all about, are you relatable? Yeah. Can you empathize with some of these people coming in? Because as you experience in other industries, and I mean, you guys hear it, like, we become psychologists to a certain extent. Like, you'll start hearing stuff about the family, like, well, I'm trying to lose weight because I had such and such kids and I've been out of the workforce. And it's like, whoa. And I mean, some of these guys are younger. And so it helps me being an older figure, especially a father coming in and helping to explain to them, life. Some of our customers, they're not all coming in here in the 18 to 24-year-old age bracket like you might see at some of the gyms. So teaching the guys to be flexible, but it does start with listening. It starts with good character, and then I can train the rest.
For sure.
Yeah, and then a lot of times, what are those people asking? It's not the words that come out of their mouth. Like the most commonly asked question at Disney behind where's Mickey, where's the bathroom? What time's the 3 o'clock parade? Yeah. Whereas most, 17, 18, 19-year-old employees would be like 2:59 and 60 seconds.
Right.
That's what I would have said at that age, some smart aleck answer. But no, they're asking, well, we know it starts at 3, but that's way over on Main Street. What time does it get here? And more importantly, what time do I need to get here early
what time do I got to be sitting
so
here
my
with
little
kids
kids
and
can
my family?
see
Yeah.
all the stuff that comes about? That's what they're asking when they say what time is the 3 o'clock parade. And,
Yeah.
and it has to translate over to what you guys, they're coming in looking for something that helps. Well, it's not, what's the best commission for them. It's like, no, what helps them. And then they're going to start coming back. You build that raving fan, and they're telling people about 5-star nutrition. Southern Nutrition, sorry.
Still embedded.
Southern Nutrition. I was still used to that name. But they're telling people, and then word of mouth is like the best advertisement there is.
Absolutely.
You can't really track, even today, you can't fully track, how many people are affected and come in because of certain ads or, Instagram Live that we're doing. But that word of mouth is like the strongest in both ways, both positive and negative. Because, somebody goes somewhere and they have a bad experience, you're going to tell anybody to listen.
Yeah. No, especially this day and age. social media. If you're closing the store 2 minutes early, or one of the things that I always tell my guys too is, a confused customer is potentially a lost customer. Like, people are going to come in and, again, they don't want you to read every ingredient on the back of the panel. They want to be listened to. They want your expert advice, right? They came in here, make the recommendation that is best for them, right? But don't overcomplicate it. We don't need to overcomplicate things, right? And so just keeping it relatable with them, not going too deep in the weeds and losing the customer, because you lose them, they're going to be like, okay, are you trying to sell me something? I came in here and you just went on like a 5-minute tangent on. No, of course, it helps to be knowledgeable if they ask those in-depth questions, which you will get. But, what is that, 10% of the time, So.
Yeah, you get somebody like Jake that's taking a bunch of stuff. It's like, all right, look, this isn't working. I'm looking for something like this. And then you can go, yep, you want this one or this one? And,
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, here you go. What's the biggest thing once you got in, like 2 years deep? It's,
Okay.
It's 2018, 2017. You're 2 years deep in the supplement industry. In the retail sector, what's the biggest thing you've learned from those first 2 years compared to what you thought and what everyone else was doing, the dirty tricks, all the good stuff?
You asked me to open Pandora's
good question.
box.
Open Pandora's box and just like be real, because honestly, when people come in here, no one ever. I doubt anyone ever leaves angry or mad or upset or unfulfilled. Everyone is always happy. Employees are always happy. So it's not like that everywhere, especially in like the 2-3 big ones, like in the nation.
Right. So there's a couple ways to skin a cat on this one. I'll say first, this industry, before I knew it, it's again, you see retail, you see these big box retailers. When you get behind the curtain, this is almost mafia-like. All right, there's a few big producers of certain things. We'll just call it protein. I think there's 3 big protein manufacturers.
Of just about everything?
That's just of protein.
Oh, okay.
But that make the protein.
Yeah, that make the protein.
Whatever labels you see on the outside, they're all really coming from like 3 guys.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So, all right. So you can go down that rabbit hole, right? Some of the manufacturers own their own brands, right? Like ON is owned by, I think it's Glambia. But you have some of these manufacturers that own their own brands, right? Then they manufacture it for other brands. And for a long time, and I didn't know this, right? These are supplements. A lot of this stuff is not FDA governed. Like, you can have FDA approved or GMP approved facilities, but just because something says it has, we'll call it 20 grams of protein, does not mean it has 20 grams of protein.
Yep.
So I had no idea how much fuckery was going on in label manipulation, ingredient manipulation.
Yeah. So let's stop for there real quick. So how old are you again, Paul?
41 and holding.
So you're 41. So the supplement industry was pretty huge when you were like in high school, college. Like, that's when all the good shit was out. Jack 3D, the Gackets, the Muscle Tech, all the stuff that really maybe Jack was the only thing that actually worked. But like, just think about back then of everything you saw. You saw the ads of the guys and they're all swollen. And it says there's this,
Muscle Mag,
this blend, and then now you're in the industry 15 years later, and you're like, man, that was all bullshit. None of that was really there.
So there was a couple things that happened during that period of time, right? You had not only label manipulation, you also had ingredient manipulation. And if you do your own Google, Wikipedia search, you can find these big name manufacturers. And some of them are still around today. That's why I don't carry them, because they already had a history of what was amino spiking in protein at the time. But we know Lee Priest didn't get jacked like just on creatine and
off of Muscle Tech protein, Nitro Tech.
Yeah, and I mean, so of course there's that marketing aspect, but again, there was some real manipulation going on behind the scenes, and that's where I think unfairly put, this industry got a reputation for. You've heard snake oils or this or right. There was a lot of stuff not only sold that wasn't what it was supposed to be, but you had other retailers. I'm just going to throw you under the bus. GNC, who had a commission-based structure that was based off of their own in-house brand and also a product of the month. Yeah. So I remember going in, and this is before I started, and right around the time I'm like, okay, what are other stores doing? How am I going to differentiate myself? And I was lucky to have inherited a sales model from the 5-star guys, but still doing my due diligence. I would go in there and this month it was no matter what reason I came in, you need this fish oil, you need this fish oil. Well, I'm trying to lose weight, fish oil. Trying to gain weight, fish oil.
Because that's how they get paid.
Yeah, because
the hourly employee, that's his bonus for the month.
Yeah, and he's just doing his job, right? But some of the bigger corporations, whether it's to drive down cost or increase margin or whatever, there was a lot of that kind of stuff. So you have not only some strong commission-based sales tactics mixed with labels not being what they say they are, and then the customer's not seeing the results that they need. And then on top of it, sometimes you go into these stores and these people don't live the life, whether they're obese, they don't work out, they're just not in there, and they're not answering your questions, and they're not savvy when it comes to reading the supplement labels. Yeah. So you're just getting an awful experience, and you feel ripped off. Yeah. So a lot of friends, and I'm sure you guys all have felt ripped off at some point going into fucking Jack's Nutrition, a GNC, or whatever it was at some point in time. And that was $120, right? When I was 18, spending $120 bucks.
Good. You worked for 2 weeks at Domino's, saved up this money.
Delivering pizza.
I'm gonna go get some pre-workout, some post-workout, and then come to find out, years later, the shit was terrible. You should just.
That's why it tasted so good. It's fucking 16 grams of sugar and
sugar
Walmart
and creatine and some coffee instead.
Yeah. So, and this will kind of be into a good segue into why we decided to create our own brand, but we didn't want to have that reputation, and that's one of the reasons we're very picky about the brands that you see on the shelves behind us. So that was one of the things, to answer your original question. I had no idea the brands that I was carrying. Maybe it was because they were in another store. Maybe I saw them on a magazine. Social media was just kind of getting taken off.
Popular, it was
flashy looking label.
Someone's coming in asking for Jack 3D, and it had a bunch of DMA and a ton of speed in it at the time. But it was like, hey, people keep asking for this. I'm going to bring it in, or people keep asking for Muscle Farm Protein. Man, it tastes really good. But, working through and sifting through all of that, and then having to deal, again, there's only so many manufacturers, and trying to sift through, he's really making that product. He's also making that product. Man, so there's 2 more proteins that I can't bring in because they're both amino spiked. So you have to kind of go through your disqualification list or your qualification list on bringing stuff in. And why? Because, man, I got a reputation, a business, and a family. I don't want to be selling snake oils. I don't want to be selling dog shit to people.
Yeah, because nowadays anybody can Google it, look it up, and see what's in stuff and what's real and what's not.
Yeah, and
they're going to relate that first back to you, not to
the guy Paul said that right?
Paul at Southern Nutrition said this is the good stuff.
Yeah, fuck that guy. We're not going there anymore.
They don't even know who CEO guy that just puts whatever in there to fill the tub.
Exactly. No, and
that's
so
crazy, man.
So that's why I have to do my research, and I ask for certificates of authenticity and percentages. A big thing now is protein manufacturers are putting on their yield. So say a protein says 25 grams of protein on it. Well, it actually might yield maybe 18 grams of isolate, 6 grams of whey concentrate. So that's, if I can speak frankly and tell the audience, that's one of the things that, because protein is pretty much in everyone's diet for the most part. Everyone's kind of encouraged to take it. And, when you're looking at that, you want to look at the yield of protein. It's like when you go to McDonald's and you're getting that quarter pounder, but when it comes out after being fried, what are you stuck with? Maybe
much.
An eighth pound or something like that. So just because some of these jugs out there may say 36 grams or 40 grams, what's the yield, guys?
Yeah. And your body can only absorb so much at one time anyway, right?
Yeah,
so
there's that
too. Crazy high amount.
Yeah,
it's really just passing through your system.
And again, there's still a lot of marketing that goes in, but just know, if I can give this message to whoever's watching, that's what I'm for. I'm doing the due diligence. That's why I get the bags under the eyes. I'm staying up late and I'm tasting all this stuff for you guys, so you guys don't have to do it, and hopefully not go through the stomach ache or the heartache or the.
Well, it's like so many other industries. You know, you're gonna if you want good cuts of meat, you're gonna talk to a butcher. You're not just gonna go pick something out of the cold bones.
Right.
You know, I'm in the beer sales industry, so you know, some people want to taste something good. A lot of times I'll get phone calls, even non-Sweetwater stuff. You know, they'll ask, man, what's a really good, you know, porter or lager or this and that. You're gonna find somebody that knows more than you.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And then in the supplement industry, like find somebody that you can go talk to.
Yep.
It's not, you know, you're not just reading it, because even online they can. I mean, if they're going to BS their label, they can sure as hell BS, you know, whatever they put online too.
Oh,
you know,
and that's a big thing.
Like find somebody that you can talk to that knows more, that does research. I mean, when I found Jake as a coach, you know, I knew a decent amount, but I was starting to plateau. Start working with him at 42 years old. My numbers are still going up. So, you know, find somebody that you can talk to.
And then kind of maybe even unlearn some things that you
Yes.
thought you knew for fact,
Absolutely.
right?
Yes.
I mean, that's how this industry is, right? It's, you know, you think you're sitting on concrete information, then a new study comes out. So we're always trying to be abreast to whether it's the new studies or, you know, the new ingredients, and always having, well, hey, no, I did tell you this, ma'am, last time you came in, this was the best ingredient. But what we found out was this, and that comes into the educational piece and the trust piece, because if I can admit I was wrong because some things changed or an ingredient panel changed or something, so be it. But at least I've earned the trust, and then I can sleep at night.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, let's take a quick break, and we'll have a sponsor shout out, Southern Nutrition, with a quick video, and we will be right back.
Tuesday. Turkesterone is one of those products that's gained a lot of attention over social media the past few months. Just wanted to break down a couple things. It's derived from plants, very lean, does not affect testosterone levels. This product right here by Frontline Formulations has 1,000 milligrams of turkesterone, 10%. That's the purest form of turkesterone that you can have. It also has some epicatogen, which is a natural myostatin inhibitor, help take your gains to the next level. Turkesterone is great for not only building lean mass, but staying cut. We got spring break coming up. Come to Southern Nutrition, get some turkesterone. Out.
We're back. So we talked about the supplement industry, how kind of shady and shitty and schemy they are with all their. I'm bad with my R's. How do you say it, Paul? Proprietary blend.
Proprietary blend.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
we didn't even touch on that.
So let's talk about the.
Okay.
Hey, that's good. Let's talk about that, and then we can talk about why you decide to formulate your own stuff, and talk about how you go into picking your ingredients, the correct dosages. Because I mean, I'm pretty sure like your pre-workouts, you just need one scoop and everything's like the clinical dosage. But let's talk about those blends and how a lot of supplement companies like BSN and all these places with no all the good stuff that we used to take when we were younger.
Oh, man.
Probably had nothing in it but fillers.
Yeah, you know, just right off the top of my head, you know, if you're doing the math on the back of a label, right? If the scoop size, let's just say it's 10 grams, and you add up all the ingredients and it is exactly 10 grams or 9 grams, guys, they're lying, because there is coloring, there is other things to help it so it doesn't stick. There's, you know, so it's not, for those out there, you're going through your label and you say 10 grams. Everything below it should not technically add to 10 grams.
Because you have the fillers that have to do the coloring. Like
Yes,
you said, right?
exactly. There's going to be more. So you know right there, whoever made that label is like, oh, I got to make it add up. Exactly. Nope. Another thing, proprietary blends, guys, I don't carry. We might have one left on the shelf if I'm looking hard. Probably a pre-workout. Probably something really nasty too, and that's why we still carry it, because you know, some customers are questioning. They're like, I don't know what's Psychotic. I think Psychotic is a proprietary blend, and there's something in Psychotic, and I've asked these guys up and down, like, hey, how many grams of this are in it? How many grams of that are in it?
Yeah.
You know, and they're like, oh, it's proprietary. I'm like, well, no shit, it's proprietary, but
it's called the Psychotic blend.
And
there it is, the Psychotic blend for those out
for
there.
anybody that stumbled upon this proprietary blend, is like they're not letting you know what's in that.
Exactly. So it'll have their list of ingredients, right? Say it's caffeine, beta-alanine, citrulline, creatine, but it'll have stars next to each one of them, and the total serving size will be, call it 2,500 milligrams or 5 grams or.
Like, you know, these things are in there, just not quite how much.
Yeah, exactly. And so, you know, if I'm trying to create some sort of, whether it's a diet and I'm going into keto, or I'm trying to create or avoid adrenal fatigue, like I want, and I think this is good advice for everybody out there, you want the maximum amount of results with a minimum amount of, we'll call it extras, right?
Yeah.
Like, why take 1,000 milligrams of caffeine if 400 will do the job?
No, for sure. That'd be like, you know, why would you take 3 scoops of this to get your, you know, 6 grams of citrulline when that's now going to be like 1,000 milligrams of caffeine. You want something that has it correctly to go with.
Yeah, and then too, and for those that are serious, you have your little notebook or whatever you're doing, and everyone will cycle on and off certain things. But I don't want to always be ingesting 1,000 milligrams of caffeine or maybe it's a bunch of beta-alanine, always have my skin crawl, whatever it is, right? Insert ingredient here. And so we live in a day and age where people want to figure out what's best for their body. And so they're always playing with ingredients. Some are making their own pre-workouts at home. They're getting just the raw ingredients for certain things, and they're blending it. And they're trying to figure out what's best for their body, because every individual is different. Everybody metabolizes things different. Everybody has different digestion problems or lack thereof. And so, we want to encourage transparency as much as possible, because there is a sweet spot for everybody, especially when it comes to this stuff behind me on the shelf.
For sure. So let's talk about
Sure.
your stuff now, like how, when you decide to go and start your own company, a second company, and talk about what you wanted to make different, how you wanted to do it, and kind of where it started and where it's at now with this company.
Okay. Let me grab. And I'll just pull one of the pre-workouts off the shelf. This is Gauntlet, and I don't know if you guys can see on your camera, but very transparent list. Very transparent. So the foundation behind this, guys, is, went back to the drawing board, as I was talking earlier about not knowing what's in different products, being able to kind of control the outcome or the customer experience. Well, it starts right here. It starts with, what am I recommending? Well, this day and age, you get tired of going in the circles, chasing certain manufacturing companies around. They're reformulating for whatever reason. Maybe they tell you the truth. Maybe it's not. This is one of those things where we could not only control the product, we could control the customer experience. Controlling the product being we could formulate our own stuff, right? Controlling the customer experience, because I know exactly what's in it. And so if there's a potential side effect or they really like it, I'm like, okay, we did really good on this formula. I'm onto it. So just some background on Frontline Formulations. Shout out to my business partners, Eric Poston and Jake Oliver. So these are the guys that are behind the scenes too, that they own stores with me. And what we did is, and everyone kind of has their own little specialty on what they're good at. We have a test booster, we have a pump product, pre-workout, fat burner, et cetera. And so what we all do is we get together quarterly or monthly, or just kind of depends. But we want to get together and say, all right, guys, what is it that we're seeing out there? Are there any trends right now? One of our most recent products is turkesterone. It's a natural anabolic.
Oh, you make that now?
Yeah, so now we have our own turkesterone product.
Because that's hard to find. So give a shout out to your website. So
SouthernNutrition.com and FrontlineFormulations.com. Guys, if you need any creatine right now, that's hard to come by. Same with turkesterone, but we got them both. Shout out. So, I go to my guys, and then really what we do from there is we say, hey, this is a formula that we think we like. This has maybe been a successful formula in a different product, or we saw it online or something. We say, well, let's have our manufacturer make it for us. Let's get some samples. Let's do some blind tests. And so what I do is I get some sample tubs, and we all filter it out to our employees. So I actually have to thank our employees for a big piece of this, because they're guinea pigs. So
gotta have it, yeah.
Right. And I would rather, again, with this stuff, I would rather have the people that I trust give me honest feedback before it ends in the customer's hands. So I get together with Jake and Eric. We say, okay, let's look at this. We got 8,000 milligrams of citrulline. All right, well, maybe that was too much tingle. Guys, what do you think? Send out the email or the text message to the rest of the staff. Nah, it was a little much. Let's bring it down to 7,000. Okay, well, we still got some room, so should we throw some creatine in it? So we kind of get to play around, and to be honest, we get to play mad scientist, and it's awesome. We get to give this stuff to free to our customers as well as part of the trial process, those that we trust, and
they'll
of course,
give you real feedback.
Yeah, they give us real feedback, and so it's great. So when they come back in and they see the product come to fruition like this, and they see it on the shelves, they're like, hey, was that product that I tried 3 months ago, that blue coconut or that peach rings? And I'm like, yeah, you were one of the ones, and you're the one that helped us formulate it. You're the one that gave us that feedback. Hey, man, when you said that it hurt your stomach, we listened to you, because it also hurt the stomach of a couple other guys, and so we had to pull this out or that out or add this back in. So the second thing I would say is supply. So we got formulations, customers, and then right now, if you watch the news, there's a supply shortage on everything, right?
Everything.
And so, some of these brands back here, they're nationally recognized brands. They're very popular. Well, shoot, if they get on back order, they're on back order for 1 month, 2 months, right? In addition, we have to absorb whatever cost that, maybe they don't have the best distribution chain. Maybe they don't have the best logistics or the best contract with whoever their raw ingredient supplier is. And so we've partnered with a manufacturer, GMP certified. And so what we do is we say, hey, what's your forecast looking like on creatine? All right, well, let's lock it in. Let's get X amount of units right now. And so what we can do is we can actually guarantee that supply, within reason and forecast for the next several months to our customers. Yeah. And so when everyone else is out of creatine, it's like, you guys, we got a ton of it. Again, frontlineformulations.com, southernnutrition.com. You guys are just coming to our stores. But yeah, I mean, you walk around and because we get the emails, we get the Facebook messages. Hey guys, do you even have creatine? I mean, something just as simple as that. So it's great from not only customer service on that, customer retention, because if we always have the same pre-workout that they've grown to love, but also in forecasting, keeping the shelves filled and just being able to provide a bigger variety to everybody, right?
So here you go. So, you have your customers and your employees test it out. Say they love something, right? Like they love Gauntlet or Pumpageddon.
Oh, yeah.
But then, 3 months goes by and there's something in there that really wasn't in there. Like, I'm not saying that's happened, but like, say you find out, like, man, like our supplier forgot to put something in there. What do you do as a business owner to like fix that? Hey, let your people who may have bought it, but hey guys, we're gonna give you this. Sorry, like I know that's probably not happened, but like, what would you do if something like that were to happen because you want to stay on top of these other brands who are putting stuff not the correct amount in there,
right,
or not putting in there at all.
Right. And so this actually happened with another brand's pre-workout, and we started off by giving it to our employees, again, doing our kind of testing process. And that's kind of how we've been able to really nail down our own process, because we would do it with other people's products. Some we send it out to get third-party tested. Yeah. Now, we don't have the entire ingredient, but maybe it's the main one.
The main three.
Like the top three, right? So we'll have it tested for that to see if it contains those first off. But one time we started giving it to all our employees, and our employees got sick. It was a pre-workout, and they actually got sick first. So I'm like, oh, my God. I'm glad. I mean, shout out CJ. I know you're all right now, but again, if we had shipped it to all of our stores before we'd gone through that due diligence period, shit, we would have had who knows how many people come back and be like, hey, man, I got that sick.
And they never come back again.
Right? I mean, would you, if you're like, get jaundice and you get whatever, you'd throw it up. And I mean, again, people are if you've earned their trust in the past and you're transparent about what happened and you do your best and they see an honest effort, most people are pretty forgiving. You're going to have that dude who's just like, man, fuck you guys, I'm going here. And on top of that, I'm going to trash you publicly. That's just you
just got to deal with that.
You just got to deal with that.
We've been doing business because that guy's probably going to do that.
When you go on his Google reviews, you see he 1-star, one star a nail place, a restaurant, a Subway.
Like negative, it could be like with the new Batman coming out. I'm reading all these positive reviews, and then you have the one person like, this is terrible. It's why would they do 3 hours? Like, dude, come on, you probably give negative reviews to everything.
You're not going to make everybody happy. It's just part of it, unfortunately.
Yeah, and so the follow up, again, knock on wood, we haven't had that with ours. I thank my employees, my business partners, my manufacturers, and just our staff, everyone that we involve in that process, all the way from top to bottom on that. But for the rest of the products, you hope that they're doing the right thing and sending out some sort of recall letter. And if they haven't, then we drop them. Yeah. So that's the best that I can do. And then I can either publicly state that, or I can make phone calls and be like, and this is hard. And you're like, all right, let's go and see who bought such and such, and let's call them and at least let them know. And so we have had to, we have had, and that's the right thing to do. And that's one of the things that I learned from medical device industry. There was a lot of stuff that would break, and we'd issue voluntary recalls, send out emails, lot numbers, and I would go in and sequester the product, swap it out. So we follow a very similar regimen.
Yep, that's something I learned from the restaurant side. Still do to this day. Like if we messed up, okay, hey, we admit it. We messed up. We're going to figure out how to make it right. And people, that's, again, how you retain so much business, because people, everybody makes mistakes. And they're like, man, but you called, and you're owning up. You're finding a way to make it right. Again, they're going to come back because they're like, okay, you're human too.
Yeah.
They can see that versus seeing it as a business. We're like, it was Southern Nutrition. Instead, now they're associating it with Paul.
Well, and I think having the retail, right, because a couple of years ago, everyone's like, oh, retail's dead or this, and COVID hit. People want relationships. They
Yes.
want to seek
They're
expert.
craving it. Yes,
They are. They want that one-on-one. They want that advice. Man, I don't have 16 years or whatever it is to learn everything that I want to come to you and be like, all right, nuts and bolts. I'm gonna pay you. What do I got to do? Same here. Everyone's has their own focus in life. Other things are more important than doing all the research on the protein themselves. Now, some guys, they love it, but most people, they want to build a relationship with someone they can trust. Yep. Go from there.
What was the average turnaround time from like idea and concept to this now being sitting on the shelf?
Oh man, well, our first product was actually something called Fentaburn, which was
I remember that.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Yeah, so it was a thermogenic, and I think again you were probably on the ground level, like, hey Jake, what do you think? And I don't know if it was strong enough for Jake because I think it has like 125 milligrams of caffeine per scoop. Right, not enough banned substances for Jake. So no, just kidding. So we took that and really what was the toughest part was the label. Coming up with a good-looking label, didn't look like it was cheap, didn't look like it was made in our bathtub. That was the hardest process. Yeah. The formula, I got 30 or 40 guys that work with and around me that I can talk to about getting a kick-ass formula like that. But what is this going to look like?
What's the branding look like?
What's the branding look like? Yeah. What size bottle? Do we have that size bottle? What size color lid? Do we have that lid in stock? How many? What's your run time going to be? Or how many you're going to make on your first run? All these little things that are silver and how everything, just fits together. Yeah. Labels. I'll say labels and supplement panels. Because to me, that's the thing that earns the trust, right? Yeah. I want it to be cool, but I got to make sure the part that earns the trust is done right. Yeah. So you're looking at that, and it's like, oh, shit, it was a 0.005 and not a 0.004. Hey, label maker, please redo this, da-da-da-da.
And, like, you could have the best formulation, best product, but, like you said, if the branding is shit, like, no one's going to buy it.
If it looks like it's bottom of the barrel, nobody's going to buy it.
If it looks like it's from something from Walmart, nobody's going to buy it. Like, it has to pop, like, with the chrome and the shiny and the texture and, everything exactly, like, point, dot, to the grams.
Yeah. No, and so I would say that was the hardest part. And then recently, over the past couple of years, it's been like, well, do you have the raw ingredients to make that product? Yeah. Right? And so that's kind of slowed us down. It's like, well, if beta-alanine isn't going to be around, or say it's $100 a kilo now, do we want to replace that? What are we going to do instead?
Yeah. Like, you might have to make a whole new product without that.
Right. A version 2.0. So that's kind of what we're running into now. And again, knock on wood, we've been able to absorb some of the cost, but we haven't had to start over from a formulations standpoint. Yeah. But I would say labeling, man, getting the label, getting your team, your label maker, all that is the hardest thing.
Yeah.
How who came up with the label? Did you hire a company, or did you three sit down and just draw stuff out, send somebody, send it back? Like, how did you actually, come up with, kind of, because like I'm looking at all your stuff. It's very similar, like labeling with the background and the different colors, but it's all very similar. How did y'all come up with that?
All right. So what I did is I sought the advice of one of the guys I went to college with. He actually helped with the 5-star master logo at the time, and then also helped me create the Southern Nutrition logo. And so I went back to him and said, hey, man, we're trying to create a brand. What do you think? Have you done supplements before? What do you think we should do? How should we make this pop? And so there was a bunch of I'm about to lose it.
You're good.
Okay.
I got you. Keep talking.
There was a bunch of back and forth with him, but basically taken, and shout out Jesse Hopkins, he worked for the school newspaper at Chico State. And so it was just an old acquaintance, and I sought him out. I'm like, hey, man, this is what we're trying to do. And he's out in California. And so I've shipped him all of these labels and everything. But, we tried everything from, 99 designs. So, some of those like label art.
Like Fiverr.
Yeah. Like some of that stuff overseas that you can do where, you're paying like $30 for like 1,000 designs or something like that. And a lot of it came back and it was like, oh, this is just, you're scrolling through fields and fields of stuff because they don't live here. They're trying to make a living, and there's a place for that, but not for the brand. So we did entertain that. We had our first Fentaburn label was awful. I can't remember who actually designed it, but I think there may have been some paper sketches along the way. But
but then a lot of times you don't realize until you see it on the shelf, like all grouped up. You're like, ooh.
Yeah.
It looked awesome when I was looking out on the screen, and now I don't like it as much.
Well, and back to the original question about the the hardest part being, so when these products sit on the shelf, right, you want to try and have the name fully visible. So if it only shows pump and then Again is off on the right-hand side, it's not centered. So how these products sit on the shelf is actually very important. So you got to take all that in mind. Well, you're not going to know that until after your first run. Yeah. Well, if I got to commit to 2,000 units or whatever it is for a first run, I'm like, oh, man. Yeah. So some of that. So, again, we fine-tuned it, but there was a lot of that early on, I think.
You don't get it. We even look at, like, how is it going to be stocked so it's easy to shop, like where the handle goes.
Right.
Different ways it's going to be displayed. So, like, when they stack, how does that look? Does it, it's crazy how much marketing goes into the packaging.
Right.
Functionality
of the packaging.
And when you get it right,
sets.
like it just pops.
Yeah.
You know, I think Red Bull was the first one I remember that just they nailed it. Yeah. Like, and that was so important to them, like how it looked in every single store. And just kudos to that brand. I mean, it exploded 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's still such a big brand, but I mean, and now you hear other people, well, I do. In what I do for a living, I hear people, we want to kind of be the Red Bull of this. Right. We want to treat it like Red Bull did this. I mean, it's the same thing, and you can see that you guys have paid attention to that, like how it's all front face, and then you've got it billboarded across. Yeah. It makes a big difference.
And it's not too much going on the label. Like you see some of the labels, there's 1,000 things going on, where you're looking at. All right, I can see it says Gauntlet, Pumpageddon. Got creatine chaos. Like you know what you're getting by looking at it.
And then very clear what it is. Yeah. Like,
Well, hey, I appreciate that feedback. No, thank you. Because, I'll admit there's always that discussion, man, do you think we should snazz up this label and should we do? So I think we're going to come up with a more extreme pre-workout and we might make it black this time just to offset it. But we knew for our essentials, for everything that's out, we wanted something white. We wanted consistency. Yeah. But yeah, uniformity is definitely important.
All right, so you started the retail probably 6-7 years ago. Then you started
2015. What was it? December 1st, 2015 was when we opened this store. Yeah.
And then the supplements about 3 years ago, I guess, right?
Yeah, I want to say it's.
Was it more? Was it 20?
No. I think Fentaburn. I think our first release of Fentaburn was somewhere around 2018 late or 2019, if I remember. This line's only 2 years old, so we've actually done really good.
So 2 years of that. Mm-hmm. 7 years of the retail. What's next? What is next what is next in the supplement retail shop in this genre? Do you just want to keep on growing the supplement brand? I know you're slowly keep on opening more stores, but what is the next goal? Because it seems like every 4 years, like I know how your brain works. Like you want something else. Like you want to take what you did, build off of that, and build into something else.
Right. Well, I'd say on the supplement store side, I don't plan on opening any more stores individually myself. Yeah. Now that being said, if there's somebody who wants it, who is qualified, they're willing to move. Hey, let's talk about some markets.
Email you at.
Yeah, email me at Paul at southernnutrition.com.
You're stretched as thin as you can get and still give the coverage
and quality that you want to get.
Yeah. Okay. And because remember too, guys, like not only is there, I kind of want to be able to keep my eye on everything or my hand in everything, but my whole philosophy during this whole time is bring on or hire people that are better than me. I didn't make that up. I learned it from a surgeon out in California. Shout out Dr. Denon. But his whole philosophy was like build a team of surgeons that are better than him. And that's what I look at. I say, okay. And, and I try and use it in my everyday hiring. But if I'm going to open another business and I'm going to put, again, not to sound super old, but I'm a single dad and put my family's financial stability out there. It's like, okay, who do I trust as much or more than me? What are they better at than me? Yeah. And I've worked hard. And so I don't want to discredit anybody out there, but it takes a lot for me to say, hey, man, I trust you with that.
No, and I think that's one thing that all small businesses need to understand is you need to surround yourself with smarter people. Because it's only going to make you better.
There's so many, and again, for those watching out there, I would say that is the biggest piece of advice out there. Hire and bring on people that are better than you. Because, again, I'm getting older. There's going to be a day where I don't want to be in the stores at all. Mm-hmm. Maybe I just want to get some mailbox money or a check or something, but back to your original question, we still got some more products with this. There's still definitely a need in the store. We talk to our customers. There's still a need there. So I think you're going to see some bigger things with Frontline. I think we're already in 105 stores nationwide.
I was going to ask what outside of Southern Nutrition you guys are selling to.
Yeah, so the 5-Star Nutritions, I think we just got with Rocks Nutrition, they're a big chain. Supreme Nutrition, some other Total Nutritions up north, All-Star Nutritions.
And I'm sure trying to find more places that are have the similar mindset to what you've got and the 5-Star guys you started with.
And talk about that, since now Frontline's in 100 different stores, but they're in the smaller, maybe 1 or 2 people own these stores.
Yeah,
talk
that's right.
about how the growth of the supplement industry and those type of retail stores seems to be taking over, and the big chains like the GNC are going out and going into Walmarts now, the vitamin shops,
Right.
like how the growth of these smaller stores are just, it's rapidly growing. It seems like every month there's a new one popping up somewhere or a new website, but it's not some giant corporation.
Yeah, so I think you're seeing 2 things happen. I think you're seeing one of these phenomenon play out where I don't call it mixed drinks, but they're these smoothie bars. And they're calling themselves nutrition stores. Maybe their focus is supplements or not, but these kind of pre-made or ready-to-drink stuff. Maybe they offer caffeine, or maybe they offer some protein or whatever. I think that niche has really blown up. So those are popping up. In addition, I think big box retail has finally looked at some of these products and saying, "Oh my gosh, I think there's some margin there." Why we're getting people in to buy their gallon of milk, we're getting them in to buy this. Let's try this. Let's offer some protein. Now, that being said, I know some of the product lines that they're carrying, and they're not the best. Maybe it just fits their business model, their protein.
And the margins are probably the lowest.
And probably who's calling on them to get it in and can keep up with, can you supply, Walmart, Publix, Winn-Dixie with, enough
6,000 units of whatever, blah, 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 whey concentrate.
But every month, what I mean? Because the way they go through stuff.
Yeah.
That's got to play a factor too, because you're still smaller on that end too.
Yeah, and so on our end, and I don't think that they have the counsel that we have in terms of being able to identify quality. So they're going to carry those supplements, and we'll call them B grade. I'll just call them what they are. They don't go through. Now, some places have brought on some A-list supplement manufacturers.
But we get what you're saying.
But for the most part, and so back to that kind of customer service model, that one-on-one model, I think although the internet has its place for supplements and everything, there's so much wrong with people's diets today. People want to figure out what's up with just them, like their body, right? Mm-hmm. And so they want that expert. And that's kind of the way we're going, whether it's people, doing this YouTube stuff at home, doing podcasts, whether it's life coaches. Everyone's kind of like, okay, I want to do something individual. I need to find out what is best for me. And you see it in the workplace. It's not as popular to work for some of these big box retailers anymore, right? Everyone's kind of finding their niche. So I think as a country, we've kind of promoted, and coronavirus probably fast forward that a little bit too, but people are now looking at things in a more individualistic approach, from the things they spend their time on to the way they treat their body to everything, their daily consumption of things. And so I think our approach fits with that model because people want that attention.
Yeah. And speaking of attention, I think the last thing we should really hit on before we end the podcast is, go through when a new customer comes in, exactly what you do. Because you get their number, you get their email, you get their height, you get their weight, you get the scan. You do so many things that these other stores aren't doing. And I think that's one reason that makes it so personable for anyone to come in. Mom, dad, bodybuilder, CrossFitter, weightlifter,
right.
A teenager, a youth.
Right.
Kind of talk about when someone brand new comes in, like how personable your
right.
employees and you are.
Well, and I think it goes back to the character piece that I alluded to first, right? And the biggest component of that is not only being open-minded, but being a good listener, right? I can teach everyone there is about supplements, but if they're standing there and playing with a keyboard when a customer comes in and they're ignoring them, they're like, yep. Just looking down or, texting or whatever they're doing. So it starts with that process, right? So I'm very selective on who we bring in. They got to have good character. Hopefully they have good judgment. Of course I do my background and everything. But I would say the sales process is more of a open-minded, open-ended questions that really get us to know, like, well, why are you here? You came into our store, essentially, right? I don't necessarily word it like that, but what brings you in? Came into a nutrition store, they're most likely looking for it. Well, let's do that. Have you been in a place like this before? Some people think that I've had the guys next door come in looking for bottles of vodka. I've had people looking in thinking this is like a testosterone clinic, So someone says Southern Nutrition, you don't,
That's awesome.
So we get everything in here. So it first starts off by identifying that person, and always with politeness and kindness. But like, hey man, like, and how's your day going? How's the weather out? I think everyone is so desperate right now to establish a connection. So whether you're talking about the weather, you're talking about their family, you're saying, hey, have you ever been in a store like this before? I know it can be kind of overwhelming. We got a lot of stuff on the shelf, but let me show you around. So just as simple as that, and giving people a strong look in the eye, and just, again, not necessarily stalking them, but giving them the attention and kind of being at their beck and call when they do have a question. From there, we want to know, okay, so you're in here for this. Well, what have you tried before to get to that? Is this a lifelong goal of yours? Let's use losing weight, for instance. Have you tried losing weight in the past? Okay, well, what have you taken? How did it work for you? Why, are we in a rush? Is there a time frame? Like, what are we really trying to do? Are you trying to lose weight? Are you trying to burn fat? Let's dig a little bit. And so I think that the conversation starts very broad, but it gets down to, okay, let's try and identify what really, whether it's your life goal, your fitness goal, your health goal really is. And then after that, we can take some measurements. We got a great body scanner technology over here. It's going to tell us how much water we have, how many calories you should burn, how much muscle you got. And then we'll interpret those results for you. Okay, you still need some more help? Well, what are you eating like? All right. Have you tried anything else? Are you on any diets, any fad diets? You know what I mean? And so we kind of walk them through all of that process, and then we get a chance to actually have some fun and taste some supplements at the sample center. Sometimes people want to get jazzed, and we're trying 2 or 3 different pre-workouts, and they leave here on fire. You know what I mean? Sometimes they didn't have lunch, and it's like Costco. They come in and they get their 1 or 2 shots of protein, and so. But to wrap it all up, I would say the store culture, right? Again, I could have the best looking people in here, guy or girl, but if you're not paying attention to the customer, you're not attentive to them, you don't have good moral code of ethics. If you're like, bro this or bro that to a soccer mom, like, come on, I don't care how much you know or how good looking you are. Yeah. It's just not good. So all of that.
Cool. And I think that's the biggest thing we can take away from the podcast today is culture. When it just with any business, with anything you're trying to promote, you're trying to build, like if you have a shitty culture, shitty work ethic, it's not going to work. You have to have a good work ethic. The culture has to be right. You have to just bust your ass to continue to grow.
People. And if you want to scale, guys, the human capital piece, I scaled too fast, and it was bad. It was bad. There was people that got let go. There was friendships that ended. I made some poor decisions, and everyone's going to go through that. But, if you have a good mentor, don't try and reinvent the wheel. Listen to someone who has some wisdom and has maybe failed a few more times than you, and then
you learn way more from failures than you do from successes.
Yeah, and then focus on the human capital piece. You're only as good as, I hate to say your weakest link, but the guy on the front line.
Most valuable resource is your people.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely.
Right. Let's wrap it up there. Tell everybody where they can find you, where they can find the store, all your links, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, whatever you got. Woo. Put it all out there.
All right. So first off, I hope everyone enjoyed this, but you can email me directly, paul@southernnutrition.com. If you like the supplements and you want to carry them in your store, email info@frontlineformulations.com. Everything has a Facebook page and a website, so if you're a consumer and you just want to try out a tub of Gauntlet, you can go to frontlineformulations.com. If you see anything in the background you want to try, come into the store. Again, we have, 8 locations, 2 here in Mobile, 1 in Auburn, 2 in Columbus, Georgia, 1 in Dothan, Alabama, 1 in Claremont, Florida, 1 in Winter Garden, Florida, or you can go on southernnutrition.com. Southern Nutrition Mobile is the local Instagram, but pretty much you could go into Instagram and type Southern Nutrition, enter city, and then you'll be able to find us. Sweet. But yeah, big shout out to you guys, man. Thanks for doing this. This is cool.
You having us. This is awesome. It'll be good. And don't forget, subscribe, download. We're finally on Apple Podcasts. It only took a year for Apple to finally approve it.
Yeah, when you sent me that, I'm like, dude, we've been doing this for a year.
And it's been like on Spotify and Podbean. But now we're finally on Apple Podcasts. So download, subscribe, share. And like I said, just...
Yeah, where can they reach you? Because we're on Instagram Live here for you, too.
All right, so on Instagram Live, you can reach me at amp_performance _mobile, all that good stuff. Jake Johnson on Facebook. Is there any questions, Bacon?
No, just a bunch of folks waving.
All right, perfect. We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks, guys.
All those times I said